Studio. We welcome to the program now Janita Stewart, District Director, Mississippi District Office of the Small Business Administration, also commonly known as the SBA. Janita, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Gerard. Appreciate the invitation.
You bet. So I think a lot of folks probably are just interested in knowing exactly what does the small administration do.
Okay, good. Thank you for asking. The SBA is a small independent federal government agency, and it was created to really help people get into business, grow, and expand. And another very critical part of what SBA's mission is providing disaster recovery assistance to businesses and individuals, to homeowners and renters and nonprofits to help them recover from federally declared disasters. And, we know we've all been through many disasters, flooding, hurricanes, so forth, the pandemic, and on and on. And so that's a critical part of what the SBA does as well. And, by the way, the agency was created back in 1953, and just last year in July, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of the SBA. So SBA has been around for 70 long years, helping people and helping businesses, and the agency is still going strong.
With respect to the first word in the name of the agency, small, define small business for us.
Okay. Yeah, the general definition of a small business is one that is independently owned and operated. It is not dominant in its field of operation or the industry that it's in, meaning it's not a monopoly. And together with any of its affiliated companies or subsidiaries, if it has any, it doesn't exceed a specific small business size standard for that business industry. So the SBA has a long list of industry size standards, and that information can be found at sba.gov, but they're basically either revenue-based or employee-based, and that just depends upon the industry. But suffice it to say, 99+% of all businesses in Mississippi are considered small in accordance with SBA's size standards. And we really parallel the nation because 99.9% of all businesses in the nation are considered small. So in other words, there are very few Chevrons and Ingalls Shipbuildings and Continental Tires of the world. Again, most businesses do qualify as small.
Okay. So let's talk about the historically underutilized business zone program, also known as the Hub Zone program. Why is that important to Mississippi, Janita?
So, and thank you for spelling that out, because that is the acronym, Hub Zone. It does stand for Historically Underutilized Business Zone. So it's a federal program it's a certification and contracting program that's really geographic based. So in general terms, the Hub Zone is really an economically distressed area, and that's kind of based upon certain income and employment data that meets like one of three criteria. Either it's kind of based on the median household income, and that data comes from the Census Bureau there, or the unemployment rate that comes from, Bureau of Labor Statistics, or it can be what's called a difficult development area by HUD. And then now the major disaster declared areas and governor's designations are also added, that are eligible Hub Zone areas. So it's just a good thing for their hub zones all throughout this state, in non-metropolitan or rural counties and census tracts, and, of course, the nation as well. But it's really to drive economic development and to really bring up an area that needs some assistance. That's kind of really why the Hub Zone program is important.
And just to clarify, you indicated that state governors they designate these zones based on these various statistical financial criteria. Is that right?
That's correct. So just a little background on this. At the end of 2022, Governor Reeves did petition our SBA administrator, and he requested 32 areas, rural areas in the state to be governor-designated hub zones. And so the opportunity for governor-designated areas was part really of an effort to enhance the program a few years ago. And by the way, Mississippi was one of the first states in the nation to petition our administrator, and was successful in getting the request approved last year. So Governor Reeves and our SBA Regional Administrator, Alan Thomas, and he oversees the SBA Southeast region, which kind of makes up Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North and South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and, of course, the great state of Mississippi. They made an announcement about this program. And I wanted to point out that, 17 of those 32 areas that were approved will really no longer be HUB zone eligible after the 24th of this month, which is in a couple of weeks. But there are 15 areas that remain eligible out of the original 32, and the expiration date on that has been extended to, from February 24th of this year to same time next year. So now what is now in process is that the governor's office has submitted a petition to SBA for approval for additional areas for this year. And so once our HUB Zone program office in Washington, D.C. reviews and processes a request, it's anticipated that additional areas in our state will be added to what we currently already have as designated HUB zones.
Okay, so we know that the governor has the purview, I guess, over just designating these zones. All right, so now how does an interested small business, how do they engage with the SBA if they're interested in this program?
Okay. So first of all, what they would need to do is really to go to sba.gov/HubZone and look at the map. There's a map there, and they can plug in their address, and what that will tell them is immediately, whether or not their business is located in a HUB zone or not. Now, if their business is located in a HUB zone, it would behoove them to take the next step, which means, make sure that they're a small business. And like I told you a moment ago, just about all businesses in Mississippi are considered small anyway. And but that small business has to be at least 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens. Now, other groups that may qualify as HUB zones are community development corporations, agricultural cooperative, the Alaska Native Corporation, Native Hawaiian Organization, Indian tribes. Those are other groups that may qualify as HUB zones, as HUB zone businesses as well. So the principal office needs to be located in the HUB zone, so they can determine that by going to the map, plugging in their address, and it'll say yay or nay. If yay, then proceed to the next step, make sure they're a small business. And 35% of their employees, if they have any, I know there are some, some businesses that don't have employees, it's just the owner. But anyway, 35% of the employees have to reside in a HUB zone. Doesn't have to be that one that the business is located, just a HUB zone. And then they need to make sure that they are ready to do business with the federal government, which means they need to be registered in this database called SAM, System for Award Management, and they can get to that by sam.gov. Now, I want to say this, that there have been scams going on with SAM because there were earlier on. I'm hoping that has now gone away. But U.S. General Services Administration, they manage this particular database. But anybody who wants to do business with the federal government, they need to register their profile in SAM. So it's free to do it because the scams that were out there before were charging people and taking their money and getting their information. So make sure you go to www.sam.gov. It's clear up there, and it does say it's free of charge. So after they do that, set their profile up in SAM, they then can go back to the SBA's HubZone website at hubzone.gov, sba.gov/HubZone. Go to set up an SBA Connect account. It'll direct them to do that. Access the HubZone portal, make application there. Of course, everything is electronic. You'll be prompted to submit your financial data, other documentation, so forth and so on. And, Gerard, there are 66 firms in Mississippi that are HUB zone certified. So, they're participating right now. However, we do know that there are more out there that reside in the HUB zone, that they are small business, they meet the criteria, but they haven't applied. So they're missing out on contract opportunities. And I'd like to share results because during federal fiscal year 2023, $114 million was expended in HUB zone contract opportunities in our state with the HUB zone firms in Mississippi. So
interesting.
Missed opportunity.
So let's talk about briefly the benefits available. Are we talking about like just capital for financing normal business activities?
So it has to do with contracts first. But
Okay.
what I wanted to say was there's like a goal, a 3% statutory goal for this particular program, for the Hub Zone program.
Gotcha.
I mean, this is established by law. So federal government agencies that that have to buy goods and services, they expend lots and lots of money because the federal government is the largest buyer of goods and services worldwide to about $500 billion annually. And so this 3% established goal for Hub Zone, where these federal buying agencies should be making good faith efforts to meet, that makes way for very substantial contracting opportunities for Hub Zone firms.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So,
got it. Okay.
And some other. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the contract opportunities they can be put in the mix for sole source contracts or competitive contracts on the hubs. As far as Hub Zone are concerned, they also can get a 10% price evaluation preference if they're competing for a contract opportunity in full and open competition, which means it's wide open for small businesses and large businesses to compete as well. So they get a price preference. Yeah.
So the main thing is federal government needs a lot of goods and services, and it's out there waiting for them if folks just get in this program. All right, Janita, we certainly appreciate you coming on and informing us about the Hub Zone program. And the big thing is we got a deadline coming up, and the governor's increased it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.